Hi, friends. It's Marvelous Monday and happy Monday to you. Thanks for joining me tonight. Today, I'm going to show you the cute free watermelon or watercolor melon and just some tips that show you how you can get the looks of watercoloring, but you don't have to actually do the watercolor part. Um, there's a little bit of watercoloring in there, but I promise you it's super easy. Nothing hard. And I'm going to show you real quick before I get started on that, my upcoming class, Excellent Eggs. I'm going to have that on the 17th of February. And if you're not able to attend because you're out of town or out of state, you can always get the kit, the to-go kit. So, but you could also earn that for free. So just any order over $35 or more using my host code, and you'll get that class for free as well. Okay, so it's celebration time, and celebration is awesome, and it's got so many cute things for you to see and use and get for free. And I allowed myself to kind of overlook the watermelon, the watercolor melon, and but actually playing with it, I was very surprised at how cute it was. So let's just get started. All right. So as you can see, it's got these cute little images. It doesn't have any verses, so I'm borrowing verses from other stamp sets. But it's got these cute little melon slices of full watermelon, and that watermelon is the same shape as this oval stamp. So you've got a great opportunity to not have to fussy cut that. Now, it also works on some of these, like this half melon. All you'd have to do is cut straight across the top, and the half melon is the same shape, so you wouldn't have to fussy cut that either. So, all right, this is page 4 of Celebration. So this is Celebration 2024. And you can see there's some cute little examples in there for you to use, but Pinterest is full of them. And as you can see right here, they're showing you that that punch coordinates with both the large watermelon and that slice. So great way to not have to fussy cut so much. But I did a little bit of that tonight, and I'll show you here shortly. Okay, so this is Excellent Eggs. It's page 27 of the catalog, the mini catalog from January to April. So just as a reminder, this is the catalog. And I sent this out on my blog just to showing people how to make this, but I think I'll do this next week. And as you can see, I just embossed the envelope flap with the same cute little bubble embossing, 3D embossing folder. So this is not one of my class cards, but it was so cute. I just used some of the dies, fussy cut the sentiment, added a little bit of DSP, tore a corner out. I know that's shocking, but tearing can be fun when you're creating. So this is just a sample that goes with the stamp set. And then we've got these cute little, these be great little basket stuffers. So that little egg makes such a cute little tag. So these just are for filling treats, and this is for filling with treats. It becomes almost like a little purse. So if you've got a granddaughter or somebody you want to give a bunch of treats to, isn't that adorable? And we just cut this out with one of the eggs. This is a picture of the candy because I know if I had this candy in my house, I'd be eating it. So I am trying to stay away from the bad stuff. Okay. And then this is a choice of projects. So you can see all these different colors. Just this cute little light flight and airy, or not flight and airy, lighter than air DSP is just so cute, and you can just mix and match all these colors. So this is one of the cards, and then this is the last card, and this is a little bit of watercoloring, or you can choose to use blends, but just a few more layers. So this is a little more complicated of a card, but really a fun combination for a class. Okay, so since we're using watercoloring, I've got my glass mat, my damp chamois, and then this little tray. So this is the card that we're going to make tonight. Isn't that cute? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can get the look of watercolor without having to do the watercoloring. Now this is a lot of fussy cutting, but it's just a watercolor wash behind. But you'll see as you see me put this card together, you'll see that it's just really, really cute. Not a lot of work. Okay, so we'll leave it here for you to look at. Okay, so when I was experimenting, trying to figure out how to watercolor, this is what it looked like with my paper wet. And as you can see, it just bled a little bit too much. There really wasn't a whole lot of shape to the leaves. I tried like less damp, but still it was a lot fuzzier. And this is what it looks like with just ink and not doing any watercoloring. And again, I wasn't as happy with that. So let me just show you what I was thinking of. And this was shown to me by one of my friends, Christine DiCarlo. So if you're watching, Christine, this is a great tip for watercoloring without having to do the work. Okay, so we're using Sweet Sorbet, and this is watercolor paper. So this is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper that Stampin' Up! Sells. And I'm not doing any prep work on this paper, and let me show you why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this watermelon slice, and I do need to get a refill. It's in my cart, and I'm going to, before I stamp it, I'm going to use the little Stampin' Mister that Stampin' Up! Sells, but if you have other misters, they work. And I'm just going to spray a little bit of water on this, and then I'm going to stamp. And now you can see there's just a little bit more vibrancy. Let me try this again because I think that needed a little bit more water. There we go. That one worked out a lot better. Can you see how much more vibrant it looks? Now, if you're not happy with the coverage, all you need to do is bring one of your water painters and you can just get it to flow a little bit, and you still have the watercolor look with different colors in different areas. So that's what the stamps are supposed to do. And again, this one that didn't turn out so well, if you don't want to mist and make a mess, you can also use your water painter with just a little dampness, and you can paint over it. And I swear it looks like it's been watercolored. Can you see what I mean? Isn't that great? And then just have yourself a little jar of water set aside. So the same thing with the leaf. So the leaf, again, I'm just going to stamp it. I'm going to turn it upside down, do a little misting, and then stamp it. And that's really vibrant. And then if I want to just instead stamp it, and then I can come back with a water painter. This one's a little bit smaller of a tip. And I can just touch it up, and you get some great watercoloring looks without having to have the talent of making all this. And, you know, I'm creative, but there's a limit to my creativity. So, and then if you want to, you know, you can just let it bleed a little bit, just to kind of get a little bit of a wash to it. So it doesn't have to be all perfect. And then, of course, we've got the little rind. So this one's too wet, and let me get a little tissue. Get some of that water from heading south. And again, I'm just going to use my water painter, and I'm just going to just touch it along there, and it just gives it a lot brighter of a look. So, and then you can fussy cut around it or place it on however you'd like to. But I just love the look of this watermelon, just a little brighter. And just to kind of put a side by side so you can see how much paler it looks. I mean, it does kind of look like watercoloring, but I love the deep colors of that. And then once it's dry, you can add your little seeds. I don't know about you, but seeds never grow exactly where you want them to. So, okay. All right, so what we're going to do to make this card is I have some that are already stamped and fussy cut. So I did cheat and do that first. But here's the background piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Tahitian Tide. You can use any blue you want. And all right, so now I want this to just have a wet background area. And it doesn't have to be a lot. You can either spray it or you can use your watercolor or water painters. And then we're going to use the biggest water painter, and you can either dip it in some ink on your lid or you can actually just use your ink pad. And I'm going to start in the middle and go out along the edges. And as you notice, the further out you go, the less color there is. And I did that on purpose because I just kind of want the color, the darkest color in the middle. Now, the difference with using watercolor paper versus just using your Stampin' Up! Cardstock is that when you try to watercolor on your Stampin' Up! Cardstock, when you rub back and forth with a water painter, you're going to find that it beads up. So you're going to get a rough surface. And if you're okay with that, then that works. But I'm not a fan of the roughed up look. So, but you can give it a try and let me know how it works for you. Okay, so that's the background. We're just going to set it aside for a minute. And now we're going to do the sentiment. So I'm using the Be My Valentine sentiment, but you can use any that you want. And you can see it's got You're as Sweet as Honey. And I only want Your and Sweet. I don't want everything else. So what I'm going to do is, now that I'm done with my mat, I'm just using black ink. So I want primarily Your and Sweet to be nice and dark. Doesn't matter what the rest of it looks like. And I'm just stamping it on a scrap. All right. So now I'm going to cut out the sweet. Now, all I'm going to do is just angle, and I'm going to keep that same angle. So the sweet is what I'm going to keep. and then your. Now it's still a little too big for me, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off a little bit off the bottom. And you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. And especially when you put it on your card at an angle, nobody's going to be out there measuring to make sure you got everything absolutely perfect. So we have everything that we need. We've got our watermelon slices and we've got our cardstock. Okay, so I'm using just an A2 card, and then I'm going to use a layer of the Tahitian Tide. Now this is 5 inches by 3 3/4. So just so you know, I know that I just fling out these measurements all the time. And once you've been doing it for a while, it kind of comes back to you. But the card is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So this time I wanted to have a nice big border. So I just did it a 1/2 inch less than my card base. And that gave me a 1/4 inch border on each side. So a 1/2 inch from 5.5 is 5. 1/2 inch from 4 1/4 is 3 3/4. And then I'm going to have a layer of this basic black cardstock. And again, I just made this one like 1/8 of an inch less around the borders, but it's actually or actually it's less than 1/8 of an inch. So it ends up being like a 1/16 of an inch around the borders. So I made it so it's 1/8 of an inch less. So this one being 5, this is going to be 4 7/8. And then this one is 3.5 by 5 or 4 3/4. So each one is like 1/8 of an inch less. All right. Okay. So this is dry enough that I can add some dimensionals on the back because I'm popping it up from the front. But before I do that, I do need to put this ribbon across it. So this has got, I think, a blue that is really close to the Tahitian Tide. It doesn't really necessarily say that. And you can use either tear and tape or you can use glue dots. But we're going to do tear and tape today. Doing it just a little bit wider than my card front. And actually, I want this side on top. Kind of like how it did the If you're having a hard time getting your tear and tape up, just use the back of your nail or use your embossing folder, and that'll help it stay down so it doesn't come up. Okay. I'm going to tie a little bow, but this ribbon is so thick it doesn't really wrap around and tie into a bow without lots of extra. So, okay. I'm going to just use all these little scraps. When I use the little scraps, I end up using a lot more, but that way I use up everything. Okay. End up using the same amount of glue dots, but somehow I feel better because I've used every bit of my Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay. So now we're just going to center it on the black. Before I start putting anything down, I'm going to actually use my nail to distress the edges. Watercolor paper looks so nice distressed. Just kind of looks like, I don't know if you've been to a gallery and you've ever seen a watercolor painting. The sides are usually distressed a little, and it just kind of gives it that really cool rough edge. So, okay. So now I'm going to start placing my watermelon. So this one I want in the back because it turned out a little bit lighter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over and start placing dimensionals on the back where they overlap. Do that first. And then I'll start adding more dimensionals where it sticks out. Another sheet. Done. Okay. That way I don't have to worry about where I put my dimensionals on the back of each one, because I don't really want them stacked on top of each other. And it's okay if they lift up a little bit, because that gives them just a little bit of a 3D look. Okay, so I'm going to place this about right here. And once I've placed my melons, then I can start placing my leaves. Now, these leaves don't have really enough vibrancy because I really like the color of the watercolor look. Just kind of gives it a little bit of a softer light color. That changed, isn't that nice? It's called fake watercoloring. Okay, let's put some dimensionals on the back of that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to pop these off the edge a little bit. I like that look because it just kind of feels like it's coming off the card. And then you just want to make sure that you keep it within the boundaries of the card. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time getting it into your envelope. And there we go. And then I have my little bow. I'm going to put my bow in first before I put my sentiment so that I know where to place it. So when I'm doing a bow that's really stiff like this, you can manipulate it a little bit more. So just did my loop over my thumb, and then I twisted it back. Did you see how I twisted it back? Because it only has one side that's really pretty. And that way, both sides of my ribbon have the blue showing. If you're not careful, it ends up with either white in the middle or white on one of your tails. And then as a reminder, I just kind of keep pulling and tightening until I get my bow to about what I want. And then I'm going to just cut the tail a little bit more so it's not as long. And then to adhere it to my card, I'm just going to use a couple of glue dots on both sides of the knot. And if you want to kind of force where your tails go, you can also put them at the bottom of the tails. So I'm just going to stick this here, tuck one tail under the leaf, and then we'll use some of these small half pieces of dimensionals for my little sentiment. So granted, while this is a super cute card, the fussy cutting probably took me the longest. So I am cheating a little bit with that. But all right, for my last little bit, I'm just doing one embellishment, and I'm using these cute adhesive backed hearts and flowers from the Be Mine suite. And I'm just going to use their biggest heart and just pluck it right there. This can make a great Valentine's card, or it can be a birthday card, or just a hello, I'm thinking about you. And so, isn't that cute? All right, we made it within the half an hour, my typical time for my Facebook Lives. Appreciate you joining me today. As a reminder, if you love this glass mat studio, it is only available for new demonstrators that are signing up to join my team. It includes this glass mat. It includes this silicone workstation, and then it includes this chamois that, yes, it's going to look kind of bad after a while, but it's so soft and works so nicely to let me clean off my stamps. Like sometimes I get the ink on my block and it just lets me clean up all that detail, where when I was trying to scrub it on something else, it didn't work as well. So, all right. So I'll post the measurements, and I'll probably be putting this on my blog. And so be sure to click like if you're watching this later on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. Thanks again. This is Angela with Wild Violets Art. I loved having you tonight. Good night.